Aloha, everyone, and thank you for joining our second in a series for vibe coding. Karl's been leading us through the vibe coding process. In our first episode, we went through all of the pre-planning stage where you want to develop your PRD. That essentially is a breakdown of everything that you want, right? This is your product requirements document. So we talked about all the kind of features that we're looking to do, what we want to accomplish, our goals, what kind of things we want to see, and everything like that in our website project that we want to complete. Because if you've seen our website lately, we need a great update. So that's what we're going through. So Karl, what are we planning to work on today?
So today what we're trying to do is, because it's a website, we want to figure out our UI and I guess our UX too. I think one of the things that I think we didn't finish from last time is the customer journey. Like when we want to go through this website and we have our PRD, but how do we want the customer to actually flow through? And then I think what we missed, and I've been reading about this a little bit more, about maybe we should figure out the specific tasks that we want done at a time. Because I think, like, do you know how Lovable, like eventually when we go to, let's say, Lovable, Bolt, Replit, whichever we go to, it's going to build the entire site based on our PRD, right? Including the UI that we choose. But I think it's very important too. They're like, and I can't remember, I haven't looked back at the PRD. Was there any specific functionalities that we may want to build one piece by piece versus, right? Because we have real voice interaction. We have a RAG system, but maybe that's like phase 2. Maybe we want to build the site first, right?
Well, let's go through the PRD.
Sure. Let's do that again.
Go ahead and bring it up, and we'll just go section by section and just make sure that we've hit all of the points that we're looking for. Okay, here we go.
Okay. So we got a purpose, and here's our target audience. I think that's correct, right?
I can't read it too well here, but let me pull it up. Yeah, why don't you just read through what we're seeing on the screen here?
Sure. So we have our purpose, right? So develop a website for our show, for the Daily AI Show, right?
Okay.
And then our target audience is AI curious individuals, professionals, enthusiasts, busy professionals seeking single source of AI news and insights. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So key features is a content hub.
Right.
So centralized repository of all our episodes. Categorized by topics. Interesting that we put in difficulty levels. Is it maybe like beginner, intermediate, advanced? I think we talked.
Yeah, or it was a maybe more complexity level was maybe what we were going for, something like that. Yeah.
And then we have themes like business applications, technical deep dives, industry news, and so on.
Yep, sounds good.
Then we have episode listing page.
Definitely.
I know we talked about dynamic loading to improve our load time and user experience.
Right. We wanted something snappy.
Yeah. Speaker bios and an about page.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Sponsorship and partnership page. Right. Obviously, big thing is authentication and security.
For sure, I think that's definitely a pain point when it comes to vibe coding, right? It's identifying, hey, you need to go through at least these certain steps so that you're not left wide open for someone to take advantage of your system or a product or things like that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then we have our 2 AI driven features. The tech stack, so it's front end, consider using React with the CMS integration. So eventually we can't, obviously, we're not going to run this off Lovable or whatever site we designate.
Right. We're going to have to put it into
Yeah.
whatever system that we have access to. Yeah, for sure.
I guess we can stick with Supabase for database management, but I also think depending on the CMS, we may just use the CMS.
That's true. That's true. I think Supabase, it probably will be better for us long term with our AI features, right? To have that information in there so that it can be retrieved, through a chat bot or whatever the interface comes out to be. So we could potentially be using Supabase as the database for all of the other information that might be there. But if we do put it into a CMS, whether it be like WordPress or whatever, then it's got its own system. So that might be a little bit of a hurdle that we'll have to figure out the best way to implement that.
Then we've got some infrastructure, again, depending, right? Hosting on Vercel. Well, I'm not sure if we need to host it. If we're hosting a CMS, I'm not like, depending on the feature, like maybe.
I guess that's the major fork in the road that we'll have to decide, right?
Yeah.
At what point do we decide, or should we decide now what we want to do? Whether would it be more conducive to the vibe coding side of things just to host on Vercel? Because I know a lot of projects talk about V0 as, oh, here, you want to clean front end for your system, you're done, right? And then of course that goes into the whole Replit side of things, because they offer services where they host everything, because we don't have an existing system that we're married to, right?
No,
it can be, we can completely change everything whole cloth. And that's one of the benefits of going through vibe coding, is like you can try completely different systems if that's just going to be better.
Yep. Then some management tools. I can't remember what we talked about there.
I think that's just to keep an eye on everything so that we can have a dashboard that, we can show what utilization is. Are we hitting too many hits or bandwidth requirements based on where we're hosting, those kinds of things. Also, that's the kind of interface you want for any monitoring of any tool that you're presenting out to the internet. It's like, I want to know how many people are hitting. I want to know what time of day they're hitting. I want to know if is everybody just watching our videos on our website now? Those kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay. Then we've got some design and user experience. So it's like, implement a user-friendly CMS for easy content updates. I don't know if we want to implement it. We want to integrate it into the CMS, right?
Right. I think this is more of a we pick a CMS and we build towards the CMS. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then we
which means content management system, by the way, for everybody who's watching who doesn't know.
Who doesn't know what a CMS is.
Yeah.
And then I think, like, obviously we want pre-built templates and then drag and drop builders for easy customizations.
For sure, especially for updates, or if we want to change brand and layout and that kind of thing.
So AI-driven suggestions based on user behavior, automated summaries and transcriptions. These things, I don't know if we should build ourselves, because there are tools that are really good at these.
Right. I guess that is a good question. I think the premise for what we're doing here is lowest lift, easiest to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how much coding do you need to do, how much glue do you need to apply to the project, and is it easier to just put in modules or pieces, components, that already solve that for you. I mean, ideally, in the end, we've seen trends where you want to like build everything for your specific purpose, but this is a website. It's not where everything that we do is going to live. You know, it's not all of our backend processes or all of our N8N automation workflows or anything like that. It's an endpoint. So I think with a focus on, hey, we already have that component, I just need to integrate it. That might be a great way to showcase the kind of tools that will make that easier, like MCP.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's where we're at. There's a couple of things that I do want to add here. And so we have a PRD. So that's already saved. Great. I do think we should do a little bit more on customer journey. So
so now, describe for us what customer journey is and its
or important. I guess customer journey or user journey, because we don't have any customers, right? So it's like what do we want them to do when they go to our site? Essentially, like, do we want them to go, like, what's the pathing? Depending on where they're coming from too, right? Are they coming directly from content and to that one single page? Like, what would be the pathing there? And what I was thinking is maybe asking AI to help us out with this.
Yeah, perfect.
Now I did this. You know what's interesting? So we started this as an audio, right?
And the audio is,
and I can't use any other model except for 4.1.
Okay. Well, can we just take what we've done and plug it into a new thread and work from there?
Do we want to use O3 as a continued, or do we want to kind of just?
I'd like to see what O3 is going to say about it, because well, number one, you should be able to.
Should I copy everything here, or should I copy the PRD?
I'd say copy everything.
Okay.
That way, that provides the context, right? And we can then plug that into O3 and say, hey, this is a conversation I had in another thread, and I want to continue to work on the PRD. And then that way we can get the additional power of O3 in its reasoning and analytical breakdown. Now, do you have access to O3 Pro on this?
I do. So let's see. Can you see? Okay, so we could, but then the only problem is every time we launch O3 or I use O3, it takes like minutes.
Oh, is it? It's super long.
Yes.
Right. Well, we're not. Oh, okay. So even if we, okay, let's just do regular O3. I think that's what most people will have.
You want to be using
well, it'll have the most application, right? Most people will have access to O3, who are going into vibe coding.
So okay, hold on a second. I just want to make sure. Skip the content. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Nice. So I have the other one open just to continue.
Okay.
So I still want to put everything into code guide.
Right.
I'll open up in a second, which we'll do today. But what I want to do, there's a couple steps that I want to continue. So it's recapped it. Perfect. Fill in any blanks. Has based on its question. So in my O3 custom instructions, I always have like to ask me questions after the fact. So it's like, here's any clarifying questions, right? But it also, maybe we want to answer these specific questions, right? So how will we work? How will we know the MVP is working? Is that something, is that the kind of question we want to answer? Probably not yet.
Well, I mean, our success metrics really are: does the site function the way that we imagine? Right? Is the components that we want to highlight, the features, are they there? Can they be navigated to? And then I guess this kind of goes into the user journey, right? We want to analyze the user journey, or create or imagine, visualize the user journey, so that we can then answer success metrics. We're not at the point where we care about how many people are visiting the site.
No,
right?
no.
This is just what makes this a success is the metrics. Are all the features there? Is the MVP built?
Yeah, I'm going to answer these questions. So in terms of authentication, do we want social logins or email logins? You know what would be cool? Isn't ChatGPT exploring a ChatGPT login?
It is exploring that, but that's not available to integrate yet. Yeah.
So do we want social login or email password?
I mean, ideally we'd want all of them, but if we want it to, for the MVP,
yeah,
email and password. That'll be the
password.
That'll be the easiest thing. We'll have a user list and in a database.
Social login for the future.
Yeah.
I'm using Whisper Flow, so I just make it faster than me typing. Okay, CMS. I think what we're talking about is integrating it into a established CMS like WordPress or others.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's a good question. Content scale. How many episodes by launch? Like, what do we do? 500 episodes?
Yeah, 500 is a good number.
Oh, 500 episodes.
Yeah.
Accessibility and SEO.
It would be fantastic if it could just go look at our YouTube channel and pull everything it needs from there.
Any specific standards? We can MCP this. Can it do that?
Yeah.
Add an MCP that reviews our YouTube channel. Let's see what that looks like. Deployment cadence. Deployment cadence is every daily, Monday to Friday.
So Beth had a question here from chat. Is the login member section part of the MVP? I don't think the login member section is part of the MVP. So maybe when it's talking about a authentication, if that's what it's referencing, I was automatically thinking of authentication for admins, right? The administrators to access it. But that might be a different process, like wherever we're hosting it is to access the back end. So maybe some clarification on that.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd want anybody else to access this at the moment for the MVP.
No, and I think that's what Beth was bringing up, was that our MVP doesn't have a members section as part of the plan. So clarification on the authentication. It's like we need it for our admin side, but we don't need it for users.
By the time we have this built, Beth, we'll probably be past 500. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
About 500. They were just looking for an expectation. It's like,
vibe coding comfort level. Will non-devs be in terms of vibe coding? I think
I think we want to approach it like we don't have experience, right?
We'll probably use that CMS, but potentially vibe code additional features in the future. Is that correct?
In terms of, I gotta think the vibe coding the site first, and then once we try it. Yeah, I mean, the question to me sounded more like what level of vibe coder, but I mean that pretty much answers what we're looking for. I want to make sure that any design process like this understands that we're supposed to be coming in without really any knowledge.
Okay, yeah, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
So I'll say the vibe coders don't really have any coding knowledge. So it's pure vibe coding. Let's just add that as the caveat. Okay, are we good? I think we're...
Yeah, send it through. Gareth, yeah, just to give you a quick breakdown, because I know you joined in a little later after we launched. It's basically right now we're still tweaking out the PRD and going back and forth with a different model to give us a little more reasoning, more in-depth, and ask us more in-depth questions. And so we're still just tweaking out that part of the process before we go into the actual building or anything like that. And one of the things that we hope to accomplish for today's session is to really work on the UI UX of the site.
I know this is kind of like the boring part for most people, but I think like,
well, this is the part that saves you all the headaches later, right? Yes. Do plan more, execute once. Was that measure twice, cut once? That kind of thing.
You can also, you already see the output of 03 is significantly better than what we saw with the output of 4.0, just in terms of...
Well, right? that's the other thing too. You didn't choose 4.0 as part of the advanced voice. That was just part of advanced voice. Just went to 4.0. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting thing if they can plug in advanced voice just as an overlay or interaction for a model that you want. We could probably gotten a lot further in the first session.
So the thing that I want to include now would be just the user journey. I just want to talk about or have a discussion about the user journey to make sure and if you can maybe ask me questions back on how we think about the user journey, and if this is an important part of a PRD. It's just, I want to run that.
Oh, that was a question
that wasn't a question
for chat. I was like, well, Karl, well, let me tell you.
Okay, this is perfect. Let's pressure test it.
Okay.
Okay, good. So first entry point. So we go entry point. Where do most of the newbies land? A link from our Linktis post. Where would... Well, yeah, and this is a good question because this is what I was asking. Where they're not coming to our homepage. Where are they coming?
Right. I mean, our primary touch point is YouTube. That's our primary touch point. That's where people interact with our content first. Yeah.
So they're not going to be going to the description and pressing it to our website. They're probably going to watch the video, and then either Google or use an AI or a large language model,
or click on an annotation in the video, those kinds of things.
Yeah. So our audience primarily their first touch point is a YouTube episode, which means they will either then Google the show, use a large language model to find the show, or click a annotation or link from the YouTube description. Makes sense? Okay, number 2 would be, I want today's update path. When a busy exec lands on homepage, what's the first? Oh, okay, this is interesting. I don't know what that means, but okay. Do we play a 90 seconds reel? Do we play a 90-second reel?
No, we don't. Remember, this is also to help us ideate on what we do want the experience to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the model's obviously giving us examples of how to capture attention and how to guide a user through their journey. I mean, the way I've imagined the main site is the landing page is to to hook people into, oh, what is this? What are we about? Right. That's what that first above the fold page is going to be. And that may also be a good place to show whatever the current episode is, or the commercial, or like it says, the highlight reel, where we give the essence of what the show is about and the kind of stuff that we cover. And that's something that people can,
are we agreement on that part? Like when the person lands, I guess, on the homepage,
these are all just ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is part of the process that we have to do, is to clarify what we want. Well, what would you suggest for that first above the fold, that first page of this landing site?
Like as a new listener or someone new, I'd probably want like the latest episode.
Okay.
I would. That's how I was.
Right. So we've got our branding, our titling, we've got our info chunk that gives a really short synopsis of who we are, what we're doing. Yeah. And then right there is, we just embed the latest episode.
We could. How would I want to do this? So when somebody lands on our homepage, what we're thinking about, obviously we have our brand, our title, those kind of things, but perhaps we want either some sort of video. It could be our latest episode, or it could be our 90-second highlight reel. We're not sure yet. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And then deep dive binge. Okay, so just
okay. So we definitely want our, let's see, what
big
is it?
Search bar.
Prevent them from feeling lost in 5 hours. Okay. So, okay. The binge path. This is a great question here. All right. So if someone really wants to get the best or the most out of our content, and they want to see what's available, having an ability to search, right? Like, so there's keyword search, semantic search, that kind of thing. That's what it's suggesting with 0.1. Then we should have, it should be interlinking, right? So that we can do chronologically. We can, the search will allow you to group by keyword. And the other thing is, I think there should be a featured set somehow, whether it be a carousel or gallery or some other method of displaying it. But I think we also want to show what we think are like the best 3 or the best 5. You want to get caught up in AI? Watch these shows, that kind of thing.
So one thing is that if we have this, we have to be the ones to set the best ones, right? It won't be pulling the best ones. We'll set the best ones, which means we'll have to update the site.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, I imagine that on the back end, we can, as part of an automation, we can flag any of our episodes, right? Because we're going to go through the process of, we got to do a transcription, we have to do translations, we have to do summaries, we have to gather insights as our shows are being analyzed, right? So that we know what the components are, what we're talking about, especially if we're going to create a larger database of all of our episodes to help the search find it. This is how we can create the keywords and, linking of all of those kinds of things. But down the line, we can have some sort of flag or voting structure where we go, hey, this is one of those episodes where we plug in our analytics from YouTube and say, this is our most popular one. This has been our most popular episode on YouTube. It now has that flag, and that can be linked to featured. In the beginning, yes, this will be maintenance for us, but there's always going to be some form of maintenance just to keep things fresh.
Yeah. Okay. I guess a couple other questions. After they watch one episode, do we recommend related episodes or push them to subscribe first?
Ooh.
I'm thinking we can kind of want them to keep watching.
Yeah, because while we would love them to subscribe, I'd rather they get to the content, right? Because that's what's most important. Get what value they can from the content.
And I think include breadcrumbs and a tag hierarchy. I kind of like both.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Once your team is logged in, what's their default landing page?
This is for our side of things?
Yeah, for our side of things.
I would imagine it would be, it'd be some sort of dashboard. Because the reason why we're logging in is to get a sense of what's been going on the site.
Oh, okay. Metrics dashboard?
Yeah.
How many clicks for recording to publish? I don't know if we need to answer that.
From recording to publish, do you consider acceptable?
Oh,
that's
sorry, no.
How much hurdles do people have to go through?
Less than 4?
Yeah. We can just set that up and we'll see. We'll see how complicated or what the answer is on that.
Do non-dev editors never need to see Supabase, or is everything abstracted into the CMS?
That's probably everything that's abstracted into the CMS.
Okay, sponsor journey. I don't think we want that.
Well, we did say that we wanted a sponsor page, so we do have to cultivate the that part of the journey as well for sponsors. So I think,
do we need that in the MVP though?
Is the sponsor journey? I mean, I don't think it has to be terribly advanced. That's just a specific page that speaks to sponsors. So what I imagine is there at some point, it probably won't be in the first page or above the fold. It'll be in the below the fold on the first page, and there will just be, hey, some call to action for sponsors. Or it could just be in the menu, in the navigation.
Yeah, I put it in the main nav.
Yeah.
What proof points do we want to convince them? I think like viewer.
Oh yeah, it'll be our metrics.
Okay.
And in fact, we have a bunch of that information already pre-built. I think Beth has been taking a look at those and building those out.
Do we want a type form? or
how
can?
they contact us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think we want both, right? We want the type form and some sort of scheduling so that we can speak to them about it.
Okay, put that in. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, cool. I think once we do this, okay, gives me a journey touch points. Okay. Do we explode goes for 22 episodes only? Huh, interesting. Search you out. Okay, here's a couple things we still need to answer. That one we'll figure out. Search UX. Do we expose the global search?
Which one are we've got to figure out? Is the hero video?
All of these.
All of those. Okay, so what we have to figure out is hero video, search UX, playlist and save, metrics dashboard, and sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I guess we'll do that. The one last thing before I take this somewhere else is based on everything that we discussed here, I'm also concerned about vibe coding it all at once. Would you recommend a method where we break out these tasks one at a time, or do we just create the whole site and fix it after the fact? I wouldn't ask that question as if I developed it, but as a pure vibe coder, that's probably what I would ask.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think as vibe coding becomes more popular and you get more experience with it, you're going to need to learn certain things, right? You're going to acquire more information. And so I think it's important to be able to better plan out your project. So these are the kinds of questions you need to ask. That's the big thing for really getting a lot of power out of AI or LLMs is being able to ask the right questions, right? Or at least figuring out how to get to asking the right questions. And then you can just go off from there. So what did it give us?
Okay, so it gave us, it said yes, of course. Feedback loops, what prompts produce clean components after seeing them, short loops, faster learning. Plan to import into building each page as standalone React route lets you drop it to CMS one by one without blocking the others. Makes sense if we're going to integrate that. When something breaks, you want blast radius small. I like that too. So this is its suggestion: skeleton, daily update, episode library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, could you include this into the PRD? Okay. And then I just want the PRD to have everything.
I'm going to bring up Gareth's message here real quick. Small bits at a time are good, but then you have to worry about it changing along the way. So
you do and you don't. So here's the thing, and I'm trying to not think of it as someone who would code this, but I'm also thinking about as someone who would code this. So if you code this, I would never ever code an entire site all at once. You'd code it piece by piece by piece. It would just make sense to do that because everything that we talked about in terms of like if not even by pages, by function, because if a function doesn't work.
Right. And we are approaching this from something that we intend to build upon and maintain.
Yeah.
Right. Because if we're looking at something like that's just fast tech, like fast fashion.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I need a landing page. I need you to lead you to this thing or this event,
Yeah.
or this is up for a limited amount of time, or I'm just trying to spin up interest in something. That doesn't necessarily need the same level of complexity or
Yeah.
thought through, right? You just want to hit those certain check marks. So we're kind of looking at this as we need this to be a foundation that we're going to build upon. So that
Yeah.
requires more thinking through the whole thing.
Yeah. I think what we have enough here. What are the comments here? Am I going to do a full regression after each feature? I would do a full regression, but that's just me. But I have to also think about this like a vibe code, right? We have to vibe code this. So like what I would do is take it into VCS and then build it piece by piece. But I think we're going to lose people if we just start coding straight out. That's not the whole purpose of vibe coding too. So I'm trying to think about how would someone vibe code this, but also have the structure in place. And I think we have enough of the structure in place. I wanted to make sure that we got that structure, which we have now. And I want to start moving a little bit into the UI UX. Is everyone good?
Yeah. Can you give us a quick breakdown of what this output is?
So the output, so this is the updated PRD.
Okay.
Right. So we have like, hey, while we're building this, then
and they're
we've
just
got
out, and it's just outputting in Markdown right now.
yes, yeah. Okay, sounds good. That's a good question. Have we defined our MVP?
We definitely had offline discussions.
Yes.
And then we went through to define, at least in broad strokes, what we're looking for from the project in the first session. So if you want to go through that process, yeah, just hit back our first vibe coding session, and we have gone through that process. There are still, of course, a couple of questions, and these are the kinds of things that'll definitely come up as we're going through the process. Like, oh, we should have thought of that. Right.
Yeah.
Or that's probably not an MVP thing. That should probably be, for our next run or our next sprint.
Sure.
Kind of,
yeah. Okay. So there's a couple ways that we could do this. The first path I want is, I think we may want to draw some inspiration. That's where I was thinking. So the site that I know that I would use is Dribble, right? So it's like,
what is Dribble?
So Dribble is designs from landing pages, e-commerce sites, mobile apps, logo designs, dashboards, icons, you name it. We can probably find, you can find some sort of inspiration here, and then find.
So this is a seller's platform that designers can put up their work and
kind of
buy it from them, or
you can buy it from them, but usually the thing that we're looking for is the good old screen capture.
Okay.
That's literally
inspiration. I see what you're saying.
That's the whole point of this, right? Because I don't want to start from scratch and then keep iterating because we don't like how it's outputted, right? It's kind of it's the Dia site. So is there anything here, or is there any sites that you want to get inspired from?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so Dribble is more if you're looking for all of the design elements for whatever brand product that you're trying to develop. We're just looking for inspiration to, hey, we like this kind of layout or this kind of palette and this kind of look, that kind of thing. Oh, okay. I better understand there.
So we could go this path, or we can go the UX pilot path and kind of talk through what we have, and then have UX pilot pop it up too. So, but ideally you have some sort of inspiration you want to go off of. Like, is there a site that you are thinking about or not, or something else?
Ooh, I think this is where we're probably going to diverge the most in all of our thinking,
I
because
know.
you're asking for like brand design, right? Like
Yeah.
me, I want sites that are dynamic, that have motion and invoke emotion and that artistic
Yes.
side of things. But we also want everyone to understand is our approach is multifaceted.
Yes.
So that's a really tough question. I don't know if there's a particular site that has just, blown me away or anything like that, but anything that's a good example of having some sort of motion or flow aspect to it. I really like that. And in fact, I just saw an interesting breakdown of how someone was using Canva to develop that same kind of motion, where you could basically take your first frame and your last frame and just use a scaling animation to just bring in all the elements, right? So it's a level of scaling and opacity on these elements, and then just take it from a simplified or condensed image and expand it out into something that would be more of your hero image. So anything that gives that kind of feeling is kind of what I'm looking for. But unfortunately, I couldn't give you a site that specifically that I was looking for that.
So we could spend a whole whackload of time just searching for right, like this kind of stuff. Or do we
how about this? It's us two doing this right now. Let's pick something quickly that we can build off of. And guess what? If we have to change it, we'll change it after the fact, or we'll change it later.
So do we want to pick something from here, or do we want to just, let's say, use GPT image gen to create something for us? So what I would do, I'd be like, hey, based on this PRD, could you create me website concepts?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that. Okay, yeah, let's just generate it. As much of the go with the flow, feel the vibes, right? Yeah.
Based on the PRD, can you mock some website designs that we can use? And let's just go there.
Let's go switch it back.
Sorry, what?
The share.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this tab inside. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's see what it gives us.
I'm excited. I want to see what it comes up with.
I know.
I wonder if it's going to do the infographic style where it'll just break down the graphical elements.
That's what I'm thinking. Best, I can produce some hardcode mock by using energy. Yeah, ideally I could. Because it first, I don't know if you saw it. It first said, I can't draw directly images. I'm like, what? But then it's like, oh, but then I can. I was like, okay, good.
03, don't fail me now.
Okay. Now, do we want to take the PRD and maybe go to VO like image gen? Give a different, just see if they have any options.
Oh, run it through a couple of different other models.
Yeah.
I think, I think, well, one, it's an example of that, but two, you want different, you want a couple of different ideas, right?
Okay. So I'm going to go, so same thing here. Hold on. I'll let that go for a second. I'm just, so I'm going to share this step. So I'm going to go to Gemini and be like, based on the product resource document below, can you create me some website mockup images that would best reflect this?
And really quick, Karl, I know you said it earlier in the stream, but can you reiterate what tool you're using to do this dictation?
Oh, it's called Whisper Flow. So it's this thing right here. It's called shoot. I'm sharing tabs. So
Yeah.
it's called Whisper, WISPR Flow, and it's free. You actually get 2,000 words a month. Oh, sorry, not a month, a week. So
2,000 words a week. All right.
you should try it for free.
I don't know if that's enough for me. And 2,000, I talk way too much. But yeah, no, Whisper Flow. Okay. Well,
just try it.
Is it a plugin or is it just an app that runs on the background, or
it just runs in? So you set it up, you press whatever button you want to press. Mm-hmm. So it's like if I hold, it'll do its thing, right? Or if I double click, I don't have to hold and it'll just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so it did that there. Let's see what it did here. Still taking its time. Okay.
Well, so can we enlarge that image to get a better look at
sure.
Yeah. All right. I mean that looks pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what does our chat think? Are we a little too on the nose with the circuit board background and the dark black, blue, and green colors?
I don't know. So it mocked up the homepage, mocked up the episode library, mocked up the sponsor page, the chat interface. Interesting.
Hey, look at that! It's already it's already Apple Glass.
Yeah. Do you remember all there's so many bad things that came up with that? Like, I saw some people like the images on app, like kind of quote unquote the liquid display and how it looks kind of wonky if you put it over top of each other. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let's see. We've got from chat. Okay. You would have to change your brand colors. That's
right.
Delma says layout is great. Video forward, easy nav.
Okay. We would need to change our brand colors, but we could give it our palette.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is a larger question of our branding and you know we have discussed this, everybody. We have discussed this at length, off and on for a while. There's just only so many hours of the day to implement, though. But this is probably a great opportunity to try out a couple of different brand colors, that kind of thing. Let's just go with the flow and go from there and see what we got, because I would love to see an update to our brand look and our logos and things like that. So if anybody in the community, hop into Slack and let Beth know what your ideas are for a lookbook, brand campaign, palette, all those kinds of things. I would love to get all of your input on that. Okay, cool. Sorry.
And in terms of Gareth, yes, you can, but Whisper Flow is, I would say, 100 times better than the text capability of Mac or Siri or anything, just because it can not only give you sentences, it breaks it into paragraphs, and it recognizes like your tone and what you're trying to, like, the way that you're talking, and then the way it outputs. It's not just one big text. It's like if you actually used it like for a long paragraphs and whatnot, it writes like how you would think you would want to break it out.
And is it better than the built-in dictation features of 100%. The models?
Yeah. Okay. It's so good enough that I paid for a full year and chucked it on my phone, and just I get annoyed that I have to to tap sometimes.
Hey,
That's how
hey,
good Live.
I get it. I hate typing as well because I type way slower than I think. Uh, so, is Whisperflow. If y'all
Yeah.
are listening, Karl would love to do a spot for you on the
Oh,
daily.
I'm already in touch with the CEO there, because there's a client that we have that wants to do like translations, and they're actually building it in. That should be coming in the next couple of months. So I was like, oh, sweet, that's
So
freaking
perfect. We build the MVP of the website. You let Whisperflow CEO know that we have a sponsor page. Give them the link, and then we'll see what they say.
So we're coming up close to 11, and what we really did is finalize our PRD, and then essentially got images. Now, and I know like most people like, oh, you know what? In 2 hours, I could probably have built the site, and I'm like, you could have, but I think like because one, there's a lot of people involved in this, and we talk
Network error.
what? No.
But we liked where it was going.
Hold on a second. You know what I'm gonna do is
Right.
I'm gonna go to Sora, and I want to see if it finished there because sometimes it did. And to my
What? You ran it in Sora as well?
no, because all the images you run are gonna be in Sora. Like, right?
Okay.
All
It's a call to Sora to just generate it or present it in your
no,
in your
so
thread.
I was wondering if it did finish because it's in times it has finished and it's shown me this.
Mm.
And so and it actually just showed up in Sora, but in ChatGPT it didn't. So sometimes it did. Here it didn't. So I was like, oh, okay, so it didn't. So we may have to redo that. But so we'll redo that. Did we want to continue this live stream, or we want to save the next for part 3?
Well, do we what do we have to wrap up what we've are we at a good stopping point or do we need to still wrap up something?
I think once we got the images that we want,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, the next step would then just take into code guide and actually get like a full like a real outline that then I would take. So the next episode will actually get started with the vibe coding. All the planning should be completed.
So what I mean, okay, well, to clarify, I think this is part of the vibe coding. So
It is.
right. You're just talking about the building part.
Yes, the building.
Okay. So let's think about this way. So we do need to generate the images, and then you said you wanted to build it in. You want to go into a tool. What was the tool?
The tool is called Code Guide.
Okay,
So,
well, so why don't we just wrap up with describing what Code Guide is, and what we're gonna do once we have the images, so that
okay,
Code Guide
sure.
can help us.
So, and I'm using. So what I did was I'm using the method that Prajwal. I forgot. I've got to make sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly here. His name is Prajwal Tomar, and how he actually built, like how he vibe codes, because he's done it quite a bit, and he's actually
And didn't he have Twitter?
he had a Twitter vibe code guide, which that was a way back. He's actually updated it quite a lot, right?
Oh, okay. So he's got
Quite
he is currently updating those. All right, cool.
Yeah, and he's always updating, but some of the more basic things are still basic, like
Gotcha.
Right. So he's done it a little bit where you plan your PRD through ChatGPT. He uses Code Guide, but if you're going to code directly into Cursor, then you use Cursor Taskmaster. But because I'd rather not go into Cursor and then vibe code it there, I'd rather just go to Lovable or bold, probably Lovable, to actually, create something interesting. Then we can take it into Cursor. Then we can take it into CodeRabbit to fix the needed errors. So that's
Okay.
what I was looking to do. And then,
all right, let me bring this up real quick from Delma. So here, I'm just going to hide this so we can read this a little better. So Delma says, how do you ensure everything is cohesively visually across platforms? Is there a way to get AI to tell you what it recommends? Okay, so what's that?
So once you have the PRD, because that's the most important part, how it actually works, then what you do is, this is why we pick the UI, right? But we also, this is an important piece, and where Beth is like, change the colors. But I'm like, this is where you actually add your logo, you add your brand, your palette, and that you add those things into the brand. And that's why, like, part of the PRD and includes the design elements, which, I would go to something like UX Pilot that enables you to do that.
Gotcha.
Because we're building a website, right? But I think if we want to keep it simple, then based on what, so, and for example, here it's complete. What we could do, right, is provide the palette and the brand guidelines, which I don't know if we have any brand guidelines, into this, so so we can copy and paste it as part of our PhD to Lovable.
Well, for me, I mean, that looks good. Why don't we run with it?
Okay. Okay, we can definitely download that.
Like, I know I'm from a certain demographic because I don't like white backgrounds on any of my websites. I like dark mode. I like forced dark mode. It's gotta be dark mode all the time.
I hear what you're talking about, right? I am not a big fan of white. Yeah. That kind of, so I think, so that is the final step, is, in our next episode, this is probably, we'll take our PRD, put it into Code Guide, and then off to Lovable, and then run it.
All right, so let's wrap up with just doing a quick rundown of Code Guide and what it's going to do for us.
So essentially what we do is, we create a new project. In the prompt,
can we switch to that side real quick?
We go into Code Guide, we create a new project, right? And then you could use the starter. I'd rather not. That's why I took the PRD and put it in here. So then we put next steps. Then what's kind of neat with this, so for example, we'll take this PRD. Hold on, I'm just back at 03. I'm going to take that PRD. We're going to do this, right? This is the PRD that we built out. And then, or you can import an existing code base, but we probably don't want to do that. We go next step.
And what is the stated goal or mission of Code Guide? Is it just to run you through like best practices of development?
No, because it's kind of trained off. Like, you don't need it, but I find the outputs, like, it works, and I love this part of it too. So it's like, oh, I can use it.
We plan on using Lovable, so yes. right, that kind of thing.
Like that, it provides an output tailored to Lovable. I'm like, oh, cool.
And what are the limitations? I'm assuming there's a pricing tier structure and anything like that. Is it?
Yeah. So my wife actually has paid for this because she's building a couple of her own things. So she's actually paid full year. I think it's like $144 for a full year.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're building a lot, but it's she got a grant, so I'm like, okay, cool, let's run it.
Run it. Yeah, totally. Okay.
So let's say, for example, we just hit Lovable on this one. Then obviously it gives you the documents. And what's nice, I'm probably gonna go back. I would love to click cursor and windsurf on it, because it gives you the documents that you can add as instructions to, right? So it's like, here, complete this questionnaire. So we'd have to answer some of these questions too, but this is worth it because this is, so in our next episode, this is what I want to do. Complete this questionnaire, get the project plan, get the docs for Lovable, for Cursor, and then we're, I think like we have everything.
Okay, like, so it basically acts as your project planner or technical producer, or technical manager for whatever project implementation, whatever development implementation. Oh, you know what? That's super helpful. That might totally be worth it, especially if you're really planning to go into vibe coding for yourself.
Yeah.
And what is that? $144 a year. That's $12 a month. That's not too bad. Especially if you are just starting out, right? Perhaps someone who's more experienced with coding in the process may not need it, but it totally helps streamline the process. That's what it seems like to me. So yes. All right, cool. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Karl, for running through all of that. Yes, I hope we didn't make any promises to actually get into any coding for today's session. I know we talked about UI, UX development, and we totally did that. We did some image generation, some branding, layout, that kind of thing to help us go to this next step. So I want to thank everybody who's joined with us during the live and anyone who watches later. The next session is we're going to actually start using Code Guide and go through their entire process of refining a build plan, and then go from there.
Take it to Lovable, and away we go. And hopefully for next time we have some sort of palette, because we'll have like some design that we, from a color scheme wise.
Sure, we'll just take the brand examples, and then we'll go create a palette set from this. And then we'll just get the hex code and we'll be good to go.
Do you want me to
need like 4 colors, maybe 5, but
do you want me to download the Google images just in case too?
Sure. Yeah. I think as part of any process, you should definitely archive everything, because you never know if you're going back to a thread or you're going back to a service. If you lose that for whatever reason, that's gonna gum up the work. So definitely have all of your stuff downloaded and stored somewhere. Proper archiving techniques is you want a 3-point system at a minimum, and one of those site. But we won't go too deep into the IT of it. All right. Again, thank you, everybody. We hope to see you in the next session. And that next session, Karl, are we on for next Friday?
Next week.
For next week, Friday? All right. Sweet. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. And we will see you next week. Aloha.